Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Art of Living Well podcast. Stephanie and I are here today to talk to you about what we're watching, what we're reading, what we're listening, and to just give you a little update on how our 29029 training is going. And Stephanie, why don't you kick it off by letting me know and everyone else know, how is your training going? And what am I even talking about?
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard of 29029, it's an endurance event that Marnie and I signed up for. We interviewed one of the co-founders over a year ago now, and we are going to be in Montreal in September, and we're going to hike the equivalent of Everest in altitude. So 29,029 feet. We're going to have 15 ascents. So we are going to be hiking up this Mont Tremblant 15 times, taking the gondola down. We have 36 hours to complete this. And then at the end, when we do, we'll get a red hat. But we're just super excited about it. So we started official training. Now we're on week 5, right?
Yep.
So it's been a month and it's going pretty well. Last week was like a rest and recovery week. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything, but there isn't as much running. So I will say for me, it's going pretty well. It's definitely more running because that's not something that over the last 5 years I've done very much of at all. And it's been quite a learning process because they only want you in zone 2, which means it's at a pace that you could do kind of all day. And you could have a conversation and you're not getting, out of breath or anything like that. So that's been interesting because typically when I run, I'm at least in zone 3 and I'm not a fast runner, right? But my heart rate gets up into the zone 3 range very quickly. So I've had to slow my pace down. So I'm jogging at like a 12-minute mile, which, for some of you out there, you probably think that's like a fast walk, but it's helped me just keep at like this low constant pace because we're in this for the long haul. Like this is an endurance event, so we're not trying to sprint. The one thing I've been focused on instead of like the metric on my watch, as far as my heart rate, which we've been coached on during these, I guess, biweekly training calls we have, is breathing through my nose, not my mouth. And we've talked about mouth breathing. I mouth tape at night, but I have not explored working out and breathing through my nose. So that's been something that's really been kind of pretty enlightening. So I can now jog, 40, 50 minutes, breathing entirely through my nose. And that is like another sign that means you're keeping in a low enough, your heart rate's low and not getting too high versus sometimes the watches aren't all that accurate. So anyway, that's my update.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you. The nose breathing for me has been such a game changer in terms of just learning how to breathe differently while working out. Like this morning. Okay. So first of all, giving you an update on what's going on with me. I think I ran out of the gates too hard and too fast. They've given us 4 tiers of training, tier 1 through 4. And in my head, when I signed up, I was like, I'm going to train in tier 2. But when I saw the actual plans that they gave us, tier 3 and tier 4 seemed more in line with a lot of the workouts that I do. So I'm like, oh, I can do that. So I went out of the gates too fast, did too much running, too much uphill, and ended up getting heel pain, Achilles pain, and kind of started to panic because I am getting that red hat. I don't want to be injured in this process. I've never had Achilles problems in the past. I've always been a runner. So I went to a physical therapist right away and I got lots of exercises to do at home, strength exercises for my calf muscles and my ankle muscles, excuse me, and then stretching exercises. And I've been doing them religiously and it is helping. And I'm so thankful. I also had to take almost 2 weeks off of the training, not where I was doing nothing, but I was cutting back more than the plan. That was really, really hard for me. What I did do was get on the bike and was riding the bike more because that doesn't hurt at all. And like Stephanie said, I've been really experimenting with breathing through my nose. This morning, actually, I did my entire ride nose breathing, which I have never done before. So, but the other thing that I'm really changing in my mindset, which has been a shift, but I like it because I feel like I'm learning new things about fitness. Um, is when I used to ride on my Peloton, I was doing like hit rides or rides where I'm going up and down and all different levels. And now I'm selecting endurance rides, which is a totally different
Mm.
area of the Peloton that I've never really done before. And in those endurance rides, you're really focused on zone training. And so I just am focusing on my zones and on my nose breathing. And I'm actually enjoying the switch.
Mm.
It's been a
Interesting.
nice change and my heel is feeling better. I'm very hopeful I'm on the right track. I
You
ran
are
4 miles on Sunday and I'm still doing okay.
good. Good. Well, it's interesting, this whole like endurance training versus what we typically would do. And I have not been on the Peloton in probably a month. Um, but I should do that for one of the cross training days and look at an endurance ride because I know I haven't done one. And does that mean it's a certain length? Like, is that longer than normal?
So I think like if I'm following our plans to a T, I
Mhm.
should be probably doing longer because I think you have to bike longer to have the equivalency of a run. But since I'm
Yeah.
still not fully recovered, I'm trying to not do that.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll have to try those bike rides. Yeah.
But if you guys have any questions for us, we're going to be like talking about our journey all along the way through the training, through the event, or comments. We would love to hear from you because this is really exciting. And, I was watching a video of a woman on Instagram over the weekend who was doing an event called Rim to Rim to Rim, which is at the Grand Canyon where you hike, South Rim, North Rim, South Rim, whatever. And she had been training for months and planning and very fit, very, packing her own food. And she ended up within the first few miles of the trip twisting her ankle
Oh,
to the point where she could not complete the event. And I was thinking about how hard that would be in your mindset, right? Like there was nothing she could do. She could not
yeah.
do this event under the circumstances. And she showed a
Mm.
picture of her ankle. And so I am just like, I cannot get injured. I need to take things slowly. And I want to get that red hat.
Yeah. Yeah. It, it's a marathon for sure,
Yes.
not a sprint, like we say
Slow
about
and
the
steady.
journey. Slow and steady wins the race, right? But this is
Yes.
a good test for both of us because that's not
Absolutely.
our either of our personalities. So
Right.
like when it says rest day on the calendar, I'm like, well, I can still do like, a walk or something, which I do. I mean, I think it's just good to get out there, move your body, but I'm walking at a slower pace those days. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to do like a power walk.
Like maybe you're strolling.
Right. Exactly. I'm taking a passeggiata,
Yeah.
like they do in Italy after a meal. So, well, good. We haven't talked about what we're reading, watching, and listening in a while, actually. So it's kind of going back through. So you want to kick that off with read?
Sure. So I've been reading a ton lately. I'm doing the Goodreads challenge again this year. And so I've just been reading a ton of books, but I just finished Boys in the Boat, which I know has been around for a while. It's a movie now too. And I loved it. Like there's a lot of technical stuff in it with the rowing
Yeah.
that I did not know about. I just didn't know much about the sport of rowing in all honesty. And I loved the story of Joe Rance, hearing like all that he overcame in his lifetime. And just how these boys formed this bond over the course of all these years and really over the course of their lifetime. So I highly recommend the book. I really, truly loved it. I did watch the movie after reading the book. I was pretty disappointed in the movie.
Hmm.
They left out so much detail that was in the book, which I know
Which,
happens all the time, right?
right,
But
right.
I felt like the whole first part of the book where his early years was pretty much not in the movie. And I watched it with my husband who did not read the book and he liked the movie. And I was like, wait, but let me give you the backstory here because there is so much missing. So but I really, really like that book. And I'm also reading Fixing Your Feet, which
Oh,
Stephanie
yeah.
knows. I've been reading this book for a few months because it's thick and it is dense. But I'm learning so much about the foot. I never knew I'd be this interested in the foot, but I feel like I do have like a lot of foot issues and I'm wearing toe separators and I'm doing all these feet exercises. And anyway, I actually do recommend this book. It's almost more of a reference book. Like if you have blisters, what do you do? If you have,
Mm,
if you want to tape your feet, how do you tape them properly? It's a reference book. It gives you a lot of suggested products to use for various foot ailments. And I
yeah.
mean, and it's really focused to the athlete, right? It's not about like beautifying your feet or it's really focused on athletes and how to keep your feet healthy. So I do
Yeah.
recommend that as well.
Okay. Well,
What
and you're going
about
to give me
you?
the Reader's Digest version of the feet as it relates to 29029. Anything I need to know. Right now, I don't have any foot issues, which I'm thankful for.
Yes.
So I'm so close to being done. I knew we were recording this episode today, and I've got like a few pages left, but I was so tired last night. So I'm almost finishing The Winter Garden or Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna.
Did I give you that book?
No, a friend of mine gave it to
Okay.
me, and it like has literally fallen apart. I don't know if it's because I read it on vacation. We were like in a sauna for a few minutes. If I was reading it, I don't know what happened, but it's fallen apart. But I love Kristen Hanna, and I'm actually listened to one of her books also, which I'll share in a moment. But I love that it's almost like a historical fiction book because even though it takes place in modern day, there's this flashback to World War II Russia. And so it's these two sisters who discover this secret about their mom after many, many years, after their father passes, and they had these estranged relationships, and their mom was just very cold, and they never believed that their mom loved them. But she tells this fairy tale, if you will, this like fable. And they think that it's just like made up when they were little, but the mom never finished the story. And so now they're hearing it, they're grown adults now, not kids. And they've learned about their mom's secret and it brought them closer together. And they're having this relationship that they never had with their mom and with each other. And it's just, oh, it's heart-wrenching too as a mom to read what this woman had to go through and learning about World War II and Russia. We didn't, sometimes you don't, like when you studied and you learned in history, we weren't focused on that necessarily so much and learning about it through the voice of a mom with kids. And it was just, oh,
I
it's
love
very
that
well
book.
written, but yeah,
It was
it's
a
hard to
wonderful
read
book.
too.
And I love
Yeah.
Kristen Hanna also.
I just
I
can't
just
get enough of
read
her.
another book. I don't think we've talked about it on the air by her called The Women.
Well, that's the one I've listened to. I just
Yeah.
finished that like a few weeks ago.
And that one I loved also.
Same thing, right?
It has that little bit of historical fiction that just
Hmm.
like educates you on top of the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
So
what are you
that's what.
listening to?
So listening, well, I listened to The Woman, which
Mm-hmm.
again was up because this is Vietnam War, but it's really through like the woman's eyes. And the main character, she's a nurse and she goes over there very young, and everyone's like, how are you even here? And then, so the awful, like everything that she learned and went through, and seeing all these, obviously men dying. And then she comes home, and the transition home was just really a challenge to her mentally. And just the PTSD and how the veterans and the women were treated. She was just kind of dismissed because she was a woman. And they're like, no, you weren't in the war, even
I
though she
was
was a
shocked
nurse.
by that.
I
That was
know,
that was like heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. And she struggles quite a bit and her relationship with her parents and, trying to like kind of win her dad's approval as being like a hero of the war. And her brother passes early on in the book. It's just, again, if you like Kristen Hanna, or even if you have never read her, I highly recommend this book. And there's that little bit of the historical fiction piece also. Um, so I listened to that. And then the other book that I maybe halfway through that I just started listening to is the Untethered Soul. I think I mentioned this, Marnie, in one of a podcast interview we recently
Mm-hmm.
had. and that is by Michael Singer. And it's just like, it's all about discovering like peace and serenity and how to like free yourself from the voices in your head that are just on repeat all the time, telling you either you're not good enough or just, any of the negative self-talk. It's all about really letting go and like having a more peaceful relationship with yourself and observing your thoughts and then just letting them go. So I'm not finished with that one yet, but I really do enjoy that book also. I kind of always like to have like a self-discovery book going and something that's fun and fiction at the same time.
Now, was this your first time reading that, or did you have to
My
read
first time.
it? Okay, because I had to read that in yoga teacher training,
Okay.
which is
No,
interesting.
I didn't read that one. I read last year, I read or listened to a different book about surrender, which was also amazing. But this is different. I mean,
Yeah,
similar topic, but different.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you been
That's
able
it.
to follow any of his advice and untether your soul?
I'm very conscious of it now. And I think I've like if I read this book 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it would have been very different. Like I'm sort of in this state of continuing to unwind this, but they're really good reminders. And yes, I'm just more aware. I'm not, he hasn't given as much like the practical tips and things like that, but I do think through meditation and just having some more grounding activities, just being outside, that really helps me. And it's all about getting more in the present moment and how you experience life in the present. Because when your mind is like doing this all the time, you're not. And I actually find a lot of my clients are kind of in this pattern also. I think a lot of people, especially women. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yes. What about you? What are you listening to?
So I just finished Outlander book one. I
Okay.
did watch the entire series and I'm waiting for the new series to drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, I kind of want to listen to it and see what that's going to be like. And it actually follows, I mean, the books were written before the series.
Mm-hmm.
It follows the series pretty closely. It reminded me because I watched Outlander, the first series, so long ago. And there was so much stuff that I didn't pick up on, when you're like early in a series.
Right.
And that was really fun, but it's super long. It's a lot of hours of listening. And I kind of petered out towards the end, but I was
Yeah.
determined to finish. And some of it gets a little gory and like, like the romance part of it, I love, but then the like fighting and abuse and that kind of
Yeah.
part of it, I don't
I
like so
haven't
much.
read it or listened to
So
it. I
at
haven't
the
watched it.
end,
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not going on.
Okay.
I'll just wait for the series to drop and finish, but I'm not
Right.
going to read the rest of the books. So
Okay.
I stopped that, or I finished that, and everyone's been telling me to read Outlive by Peter Attia. Listen to
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. I haven't.
So that's a book on longevity. Again, like Stephanie
Yeah.
mentioned, I like to do pleasure, and then I like to have some, like, if you will, work or, betterment kind of books going at the same time. So I am listening to, sorry, Peter Attia and Outlive. And I'm only like 2 chapters in, but so far I'm really enjoying it. And I can see why people have recommended it to me. It's reinforcing a lot of what I'm learning in my longevity course right now. And just like what we're hearing on a day-to-day basis on how to live into your hundreds and do the things you want to do.
Yeah. And how is the book from the standpoint of like when I read Life Force, and I think I still
I
even
like
have
this
like two
way
chapters,
better.
I don't love life. I mean, I like the concepts behind it and like the enthusiasm and the like just positive outlook about all the new technologies and ways that we can, live to 100 and live a healthy life to 100. But it's so, I don't know. I don't know what the right
So
word is, but
he's coming at this from a very different place. Like he's a
okay.
doctor, an MD, not that, I mean, I can't remember. I think there were some MDs in Life Force
Yeah.
too, but he was practicing and stopped practicing medicine because he was disheartened by it based on how you're treating disease instead of promoting health, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm only 2 chapters in,
Okay.
but
Well, more
so
to come. We
far
can talk about it.
it
Yeah.
he's not selling anything. He's not like
Right.
it has a very different vibe to it.
Okay.
So I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. So I think I'll add that to my queue after I
You should.
finish The Untethered Soul. I usually have
Yeah.
like two audibles going at once also. Okay, what about watching? I guess you talked about Outlander, but you watched that a while ago.
That was a really long time ago. So I have not been watching a lot of TV actually. Like as the weather gets nicer, I tend to
Yeah.
sit outside and do other things. But Sage and I, my daughter and I did watch a movie the other day called The Idea of You, which just came
I'm
out.
I'm
Anne
watching that
Hathaway.
also.
Okay, so it's just a movie,
Yeah.
but with Anne Hathaway, and I don't know who the guy is in it,
Yeah.
and it's about this 40-year-old woman who, well, really, it's about this 24-year-old guy who's in a boy band who falls for this 40-year-old woman and kind of chases her, and they have a relationship and all of the stuff that happens around a 40-year-old woman dating a 24-year-old. And I'm really torn on how I felt about the movie because I love Anne Hathaway. She's stunning. Like, she's a gallery owner and everything's very glamorous. And there's some European shots in the movie that are so beautiful and her outfits. And the boy was really cute, but he's like my son's age. So thinking about it like that, I had a really hard time when they are like kissing and having some sex scenes. Like, okay, I can appreciate that he's like a good looking kid.
Yeah.
He's like a kid. And
Yeah.
I'm 10 years older than the actress, but then what bothered me about my logic was, okay, why is it okay for a 50-year-old man to
Yes.
date a 25-year-old with no issues? Nobody thinks twice about it.
Mm-mm.
But when it's a
Mm-mm.
woman, it's a problem. And I don't want to be that person and I don't want to have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to reconcile it. The movie was not amazing, but the themes I thought were good. It's really about her, the character, whoever Anne Hathaway's character is, stepping into her own, coming into her own as a 40-year-old woman. And I really like that theme.
Yeah.
So overall, the first half was kind of, I liked it better as it went on.
Well, it's
And I like
interesting
the
because
theme.
I was going to mention that I started it last night, and then because the Timberwolves were on, I only watched it for like 10 minutes. So then this morning I was doing an indoor jog because of the weather. And so I watched like, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes of it. So I'm like three-quarters of the way through the movie.
And what do you think so
You
far?
know, it's a rom-com. It was like perfect for just being on a treadmill because I really don't like being on the treadmill. So I need something to like keep me going. And I guess, thought similarly about their relationship. And I think, you know what? The woman is a single mom. She had you know, a divorce, like she was divorced. And I think I can just tell, like, she hadn't done a lot for herself, like when it comes to relationships. Like a lot of women who are single moms probably gave everything for their kid and their work because they're supporting their family. And you know what? If she wants to enjoy herself and have this fun summer while her daughter's at camp, her teenage daughter, well, I don't know. I'm kind of,
Right.
why not?
And
Is she doing anything wrong? It's open, it's consensual, they're both adults, and she's having some fun in her life for the first time in probably 15 years. So
and I
go
agree with
at it.
all of that. I agree with all of that. I think
Yeah.
the hardest thing for me is that he was like my son's age.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's where, like, imagine one of your friends dating Will,
Yeah. Oh, Marnie.
right? But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying not to go there, but thanks for
So it was really hard not to. There's some
yeah.
scenes where it could be like your kid and their friends hanging around a pool and then
Right.
she's there, like I don't know if you've seen that scene yet.
No, I haven't.
And she
So
realizes like, wow, I'm a lot older than these
yeah.
young adults. Like,
Right. Right.
so,
Yeah.
but that the message that you just said is absolutely true.
Yeah.
You do you, right?
Right. Right. And trying to be less, years ago, I think we all have these judgments, or we see couples of a certain age or whatever. And I'm just trying to have less of that.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone at the end of the day wants to be happy and free and have joy in their life. And as long as they're not hurting or harming or anyone physically or emotionally or mentally, then I guess have at it.
Totally.
Um,
Are you watching
so
anything else?
yeah, so I'll just touch on, there's two things, because one is One Day. Did you ever watch that series?
Wait, what is it
It's
about?
about these two, it takes place in the UK, and they're these guy and a girl. They meet and when they graduate from college, and they're just like from different worlds, completely
No.
different worlds. And then every year, like on this graduation day, they kind of show, like they always have the date over probably a 10+ year period. And it's just like they grow apart, they meet other people, they date. They kind of had this like one night when they first met. But then their worlds are so um, just so different. And he goes through stuff and she goes through stuff, and then they end up getting together and they end up getting married. I won't get into it all. It's just sweet. It's just sweet. And it takes place over in the UK. And so that, I think that's always fun too. Um, anyway, what I was also wanted to say I've been watching, and partially because of the 29029 training, is Palm Royale. Have you watched that?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's on
Can you spell it?
yeah, well, PALMROYALE. So I have like 3 more episodes to listen to. It's just light and fluffy. It takes place in Palm Beach, and there's this woman who's kind of trying to start her life over, and she has a past very different from these women that she's meeting with, and she's trying to join this elite club, and her husband has this aunt who's like on her deathbed, who is like very wealthy, and they think they're going to inherit all this money, and so they're spending all this money. I don't know. It's just, and there's lots of secrets going on with all these women and people. So it's light. It's perfect running or walking on the treadmill
Well, I'm
or
going
late
to
at
need
night.
some of that, right?
Yes, yes, you will. And there's good actresses in it, and like Ricky Martin's in it, and now I'm blanking on the main character,
I've never
Maxine
even heard of it.
Kristen. Yeah, if you just, it's on Apple TV.
Okay.
So if you, it'll probably come up
I
right
don't even
away.
know if we have Apple TV, but I'll look. Or I
Yeah.
think we do, actually.
Yeah, like you watch the morning show.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
Well, I
that's what
mean,
I've
that's
been
awesome.
watching.
It gives me some new things to think about.
Well, same here. Yeah. Yeah.
So, as we wrap up, just a reminder that our June detox is going to be do it yourself this month as we rework our program that will launch in the fall. And we will be dropping that after Memorial Day, and you can purchase the detox and do it at your leisure.
Yeah. And you'll get everything you normally would, except for like the community group part. So you're going to get all the materials, the recipes, and the videos, any of like the meditations that we've shared in the past. And you'll have access to Marnie and I via email, but you won't have like the daily chat and community that you would when we normally run the program. But part of the reason for this is, one, it's summer and people are all over the place with vacations and commitments of when it works for them. And two, we want to make some changes to the program that we're going to launch in September. It'll still be the detox, but we want to add some components, and we would love your feedback. So our ask for you is to reach out to us on email, Instagram, and let us know what you'd love to see in a community program. It'll include the detox, yes, but what other aspects? And if you've never done the detox before, but you've been curious or maybe even a little bit intimidated, reach out to us and let us know why and how we can help support you. So maybe it's including different elements that we'll incorporate when we relaunch it in September.
And if you are watching, reading, or listening to anything that you think we would love, we'd love to hear that from you too. So
Yes.
drop us a line, tag us on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.